Good day, America. How's everyone doing? Good evening, Nigeria. Good evening, London, UK. And for the rest of our guests in anywhere in the world, Qatar, wherever you're located, Saudi Arabia. It's a pleasure this afternoon for us to actually come this great day to thank you again for all your support and all your love and all your care as you've continued to be. Um, Audience and participants on this great, wonderful platform. You are welcome to another edition of Broken Not Shattered. This is your host, Ike Webily, and my co host, who is back in Lagos, Nigeria, my man, Obi. Obi, what's up, buddy?
I'm all right.
Good, 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 good.
Good
So,
evening.
this is another good evening. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Good. This is another day that we are going to be able to be a blessing in the life of people who are going to either watch us live or watch us later on. But today's topic, I had a guest I wanted to bring in, but I felt that it wasn't the right time. So hopefully, I might be able to bring this great guy in next week. Uh, these days, Obi, I'm big on timing, and I always try to make sure that the timing is right. Sometimes the timing might not be right, but I just follow the prompting of how I feel. Some people call it gut, I call it divine spirit.
Yeah.
And if the time is not right, I just let it be. Sometimes we just have to take out a bold step and just go for it regardless, you know. And so today, what we're going to look at is a very important subject um, that you and I can understand. But before I talk about the subject today, let me ask you, how was your Father's Day?
It was a nice one.
Good, good,
It was
good,
a
good.
nice one. It was a nice one. I just have to say that it was a nice one.
Yeah, good. So last week we were not on air. It was a decision that we made to not to be on air, and so that you and I both as fathers can celebrate. My Father's Day was awesome. I think it was one of the best I've had in the last
Wow.
uh,
Wow.
20 years now. My first child is almost 20. So, and this one was just an excellent time because the girls came over and they actually took time and just cooked, a very special spread. And then family came to join us. So it was the family were around. They had time chilling in the pool and just having a great and fantastic time dancing and just goofing around and talking and eating. I had food. This I try not to eat much, but I had a lot of food and it was nice. It was beautiful. It was good company. It was good. It was just a wonderful time, and I felt real honored and celebrated. Uh, this beautiful T-shirt I'm wearing was a gift that I got on Father's Day. So
Wow.
this is just yeah. So I've decided to put it on today to show that to thank my family for blessing me, got it from my
That's
cousin.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome. I think
yeah.
I think one of the beautiful thing about that Father's Day experience is, when you begin to look at the sense of responsibility, what made you a father.
Mm,
When you're looking at your children and you're looking at your wife, it is that sense of responsibility that gives you that feeling of fatherhood.
hmm.
I am responsible, and you're looking at the people you are responsible
Four.
for.
Four.
You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
how
So
far.
that's what I want us to talk about today. The topic today is fatherhood is not manhood.
Hmm.
That's what we're talking about. Fatherhood is not manhood.
Okay.
Um, I'll let you go first, and then I'll come back and talk to you. So, what is your own understanding? You've been a father for about last 3 years now, going on 3 years. Um, your first is about 3 years old, correct? Um, so, naturally, I know you've been a father to other guys in different areas of your life, um, as a mentor, encouraging them, empowering them. So, what is your understanding of fatherhood?
Okay. Um. Now, the fatherhood is that point when I'll say it in two ways: giving birth to something,
Oh,
and it can also be spiritually giving birth to something. Now, let me break it down. Literally, I mean, you have offspring, you have children. You can say, yeah, these are the these are my responsibility. I am responsible for their existence. Now, there are also others that are either by adoption. I said spiritually. I don't know if I use the right word, or maybe you
yeah,
have
that's fine.
your spiritual children,
Hmm.
or your mentees, right? Um, and the where the fatherhood comes in is these are the people you are responsible of their well-being. If they get it wrong, it is traceable to you. I mean, you are responsible for their actions, so you play a vital role in their action. It is a different thing from when it was just you and about you alone, or you and your spouse. But now it has gone beyond the two becoming one to being fruitful and multiplying. Now, as you multiply, you're responsible for that multiplication.
Right,
So it is your responsibility for the multiplication that makes you that father, because it is not just to multiply. The multiplication needs maintenance, it needs tenderness, and you are responsible for that. That's
wow.
my definition of that
So
fatherhood.
in other words, what I'm hearing you say, Obi, is that
Okay.
fatherhood for you is basically responsibility.
Responsibility, keyword. Very
Yes,
key.
and I completely agree with you on that. That fatherhood is responsibility. Um,
Responsibility, yeah.
for me, as much as I agree with you that fatherhood is responsibility, I believe that also fatherhood is protection. That's the word that comes to my mind when I think of the word fatherhood. I mean, there is a responsibility, but there is also the word protection. Um,
But I think
I, I do.
I'm not trying to disagree with you, but I'm looking at responsibility as encompassing.
Yeah, yes, I agree. I agree. I mean
So
that
in
that's
responsibility, there are aspects which protection is part of.
right.
That's what I feel.
The first word that comes to my mind when I think of fatherhood, right? And I'm not saying that responsibility is not what it's all about, but the first word that comes to my mind is the word protection, right?
Protection. Okay.
For me, I can't see any greater need, any
Mm-hmm.
stronger need that a child
Mm-hmm.
would have or desire
Mm-hmm.
than this
Mm-hmm.
protection of a father. A
Yes.
lot of noise in the background where you are, bro. Um,
Mm.
so you might want to mute I guess when I'm talking.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah,
Please.
so
Please, can you mute? Tell the person
yeah,
to off that.
can I go ahead?
Uh, please mute me for a while.
All right.
Can
So
you mute me for
basically,
a while?
okay. So basically, what I was saying is, sorry guys for that. It's because we're live, so anything can happen as we speak. So what I was saying that the first thing that comes to my mind is protection, and that there is nothing as desirable for or a need that a child does have than the need for the protection of a father. You understand? Without that protection of a father, be it your biological father or an adopted father or just someone who takes up that father role, I think that's the strongest need that any child would desire. The child is always looking up to the father, and this the same way it is first of all in the spiritual, when we also look up to our greater heavenly Father. It's the same way it's also in the natural that our children also look up to us. Um, they look up, and there's a desire to look up someone, which is totally different from just manhood. Fatherhood comes with a lot of responsibility, and for me, it's the protection. It's the protection of the child. It's the protection of the family. It's the protection of everything, the well-being of the family, spiritually, naturally, physically, emotionally. You just have to go ahead and protect. And then sometimes it's also the protection of the mind. You give birth to the atmosphere that you see. Personally, I come from a very, very loving background. As a child, my parents were. People say, "Oh, you're very in tune with your emotions." I'm in tune with my emotions because I came from a family that both my mother and my father were in tune with their emotions, and so we have that balance for the most part. Um, and then you go into the world with that, and people might think, "Oh, he's different from most folks." I'm not different because I've understood that we're just products of our environment. And so if my environment is growing up at that primary age, which is the age of 0 to 6 or 0 to 12, depending on which child psychologist you're talking to. Those are formative ages in a person's life. If those ones, if the child suffers any level of trauma or insecurity in those years, it plays out over the course of the person's life. But if they actually get it together at that beginning and that foundation is tight, and they feel the love of parents, the love of family, the love of the environment, then you will notice that throughout their life, they will always have that balance. I don't have a problem expressing myself, and I don't have a problem at all expressing my emotions or how I feel because that's who I am, you know. And I think it's very necessary. And I've tried to create that in the life of my children. I'm a very hands-on dad. At the very young age when my girls were young, I would do almost everything that most men might think, that's not for me. Leave it for the wife or leave it for the mother. But I felt like, hey, I learned how to cook by my father. And by all standards, I think all the guys in my family are pretty good cooks. So, you see that. So that's my take on when it
I
comes
like
to
that.
that's my take when it comes to fatherhood. So let's take a break and then we'll come back and then we'll look at manhood and fatherhood. All right. And then we can see how that can actually be a blessing to those around us.
Okay.
All right, we're back. Obi, I read a saying once that it's easier to build up strong children than to repair a broken man. It is easier to build up strong children than to repair a broken man. If a man is broken, it is so difficult to repair him. But it's much
Yes.
easier to actually begin to build and raise up strong
Of
children.
course.
So, manhood and fatherhood
To repair, yes.
are two different things. Not every man is a father, but could you say that every father
Father,
is a
yes.
man? You understand? It is much easier to
Yes.
build strong children than to try to repair a broken man. This platform is
Broken
called
man.
Broken Shattered. There are several men out there who are completely broken. And we pray that they're broken, but they're not shattered. Your take, Obi. Manhood versus fatherhood. They're not the same thing, are they?
Yeah, they're not the same thing. Um, I would like to approach it in two ways. One will be conceptual, psychologically, you know, conceptual, and then one will be realistically as a man with offspring and responsibility. What am I trying to say? This is what I have to say. Manhood, from the layman point of view, I will foresee it as a man, a man who has no responsibility. I mean, responsibility, and you're not married, you know you don't have a wife, you don't have children, you don't have people that you're directly responsible to for their upkeep. A kind of, you don't have any responsibility so much except what you chose to do. That's one. Then I have definition of um, another manhood, in the sense that I stand to be corrected, but this is my point.
Hmm.
You get what I'm trying to say? This is my view or my take on this.
That's
Now
fine, and
you can
you, and
you
that's why
you, you can
you can come. All you can give us is
yeah,
your view, bro. We're not asking for anything but your
exactly,
view. And if your
exactly.
view is not
Now
corrected, that's fine. Go ahead.
exactly, that's fine. So another way to it is, there are men who are supposed to be fathers, but because they lack that sense of responsibility, they are not in that space of fatherhood, because what makes you a father is your responsibility. Without the responsibilities,
Mhm.
you are simply, it's just simply manhood.
Okay,
Now so
let me ask you a question. 'Cause somebody else is watching
okay,
saying, I hear you,
okay,
but I don't agree with you. All right, so we
okay,
agree, both of us on the same page that it's responsibility first. We agree. Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
tell me what when you say responsibility, what do you mean?
Okay, now when I say responsibility, I mean, um now, there was something you said about protection before. So you have a wife that you have to protect and care for. You have children that you have to care and protect. What I mean by care, their upkeep, their character modeling, their way of life. You're responsible as a father. You are a figure in their life to navigate them, to provide for them, to protect them. And that's what makes you a father. These are just the basics for me.
Yeah, okay.
But
I like the fact that you took out time to say that, because you see,
okay,
in several forums when talk to women, they always say, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, he's taking care of his responsibility." And when they say that, most of the time, what they're saying is that he's bringing in the money to pay the bills, right? Which is a very important part of his responsibility. But you see, most fathers that actually just pay their bills, right, might take care of those needs along from the from the mother's perspective, right? But the
okay,
child does not care about the bills that are being paid. You understand?
yes, yes,
The child's needs are nothing to do with the light, the water, and the
yes,
clothes that they wear. That is not their
yes,
primary need at that young age as a child. They want their
yes,
father. They want that relationship. They want that
yes,
bond. They want that time to share and talk. You know, just remember that that every father, right? After a while, that their son will grow up to be an example of to be an image of
mm-hmm,
what they had said, and
yes,
to be an image of what they have seen and not what they
mm-hmm,
actually said. So you see that one day your son will follow your examples and not your
yes,
advice, right?
yes,
He will follow your examples and not your advice, right? Or maybe in
yeah,
some cases your daughter could follow your examples and not your advice, because we mirror what we see. We mirror our environment. What we see is what we become. If you can't
yes.
see, you can't have it. So what you see is what you become. Whether it's in the business world, in your private world, in the corporate world, if you can't see it, you can't become it. So you have to be able to see it to become it. Um,
Let's also not forget that,
mhm.
in modeling, the fathers are the ones who sets the principle, and what the
Or the
mothers do,
example, or the example of what the prototype of what the family
of
looks
how
like.
the home should be, or how they, they set the principle, and then the wives, the women, drive the principle.
Right.
They set the standard. Then the women drive the norms, the family values. It is the responsibility of the father to set it, and then the
Completely.
mothers to drive it
Right.
into the
Yes.
children.
Yeah. So they are the implementers. They implement the vision of what the family should actually look like. That's
Exactly.
what you're saying. Okay, but let's okay. So good. So that is in a traditional family setting. But how about when the
Yes.
family is broken, Obi? When the
Sorry.
family is when the family is broken. In America today, we have almost 50%, 60% of the families are broken families. Either they were never married, or they got married and got divorced. So I
No,
I,
no.
I, I understand. I understand how that works because I've now had I have a broken family. So my
Okay.
question now is okay. So how do you now come from there?
Yeah.
How
It is. It
how
is.
how the children are under two different households, right?
But you're
They're under
not. But you're not. But they're not denied access. What the basics is accessibility,
But
which
it's
is
no, no, no.
very.
No. It's in some cases. In my case, I wasn't
Mm,
denied access to my children. There's no way they could have denied me access anyway, because
yes.
they could see the bond that I had with my kids, right? But in some
Yes.
cases, there are women who have denied their children their children access to their father, and denied their fathers access to those children. There are a lot of cases out here that men don't have access to their children because the mothers of those children had blocked them from that access, and so the child is growing under a different level of understanding and parenthood. Just for the
Which is
record,
very
before we go,
toxic.
any woman who's watching this show today, you or you have a friend or a member of your family who is either going through a divorce or went through a divorce or separated or were never married, I'm talking to you as a father. Never deny your children access to their father. Even if the man doesn't want to step up and be a father,
Yeah.
try and do everything you know to do to allow those kids to have access to their father. There is nothing that is important to a daughter than the love
Yes.
of a father. And there is nothing too important to a son as the affirmation, the voice of a father. If not,
Yeah.
he will go and find that affirmation on the streets of your neighborhood, either through a gang or through a
Yeah.
cult or through
Yeah.
something. And for a
Yeah.
girl, if she does not hear the father say, I love you, and she can't get that love from her father, the
And she
chances
can get
are
it from the
that
streets.
she will find that love from the streets in the hands of a sugar daddy, a boyfriend who's a knucklehead, or somewhere else. Right now, if the father is not there, as in like he is dead, there are other people in the family that can take up that father role. If you have remarried and you're married to a good man, let that good man be able to express that fatherly love that the girls would lack or the son actually needs for him to grow. And I think it's very important that I said that. Never ever, I look you in the eye, never ever deny your child access to their father unless it is a very extreme case of either uh, child abuse or the person is mentally unstable to the
Yeah.
point that they could do harm to the life of that child. But if it's
Yeah.
just based on your issues and your arguments, I
Yeah.
plead with you because what you're going to end up doing is destroying that particular
That
child or
you're
those
right.
children. Go ahead, Obi.
You're right. You're right. I agree with you.
Yeah, because most
I,
women use it as a weapon. They use it as a weapon, and that's why some guys don't care. They will just move on and just do that. If you use that thing as a weapon, it will always backfire because it gets to a point
yes.
where the children eventually will come in contact with their father and they've had enough of you as their mother, and all of a sudden, boom, they don't have time for you. They want to spend time with their dad. Their dad now
Yeah.
comes up as the cool guy, their dad comes as the friendly guy, and if he now tells his own side of the story, you're finished. So don't do it. It always, always backfires. Ask everyone who
Yes.
has done it that I know. They have always come to regret it. Go ahead, Obi.
I agree with you, but I also want to add this to it. For men who have abandoned their
Oh,
children,
that's even worse. Yes, yes. Please,
yes,
please speak on that one because that's another one. Because
because
some men have
because
actually abandon their posts, abandon their
Yes.
responsibility as their fathers, abandon the kids
Yes.
and taken off and gone off wishy-washy with either run off with some hoochie somewhere or actually
Yes.
taking off with a dream that does not make sense and just completely abandon the responsibility of their children. Yes, for we speak to those men because if I start
You,
speaking to those men, it will really be really be a bad one.
you'll be a ballista. but, but,
They'll
but, 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 but
not
you're
into
right. Yes. You're right. I see no reason why it is not about having it all. The children can come to understand the circumstances surrounding their existence. Maybe their father, didn't have that much, or let the children be in as at what happened, and then be there for them. Just that care and love and concern goes a long way to put them mentally stable. I tell people, one of the keys to success is mental stability. Psychological issues affects our concentration and focus, and we can be battered with that, in our present day society. So giving them that sense of fatherhood is, I mean, that sense of the fact that they have a father who cares, even if he is not always within their reach, but they know that from time to time there is this father figure over them.
yes, yes.
Is very, 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 very
And I
important.
and I agree with you. And I think the prayer of a father is a very crucial prayer. I know the
Very,
prayer of a
very.
father is very important, but the prayer of declaration, the voice of a man, the manhood, the seed
Yeah.
carrier, one that has
Yeah.
been given that seed to carry. There's something that when he proclaims a thing over his household, when he speaks a thing over his ministry or whatever it is in the natural or the spiritual, there is something that actually activates and connects with the kingdom of God itself.
Yeah.
The heaven and
Yes.
the earth respond to the voice of a man. I tell people, speak what you want, speak what you want,
Yeah.
say it with that compassion because the voice, there's power in your words. I am privileged. I am a privileged man that I was able to stand on the shoulders of great men like my father, Christopher Chukwumezie Obuebili, right? Great guy, awesome father. He left so soon. As long as I was concerned, I wish my father was around at this time. He would have
Yeah.
enjoyed me more, enjoyed him more. He left the same time I graduated from university. Actually, he left on the weekend of my graduation, which
Wow.
one day I don't know. Maybe I go for therapy for that one because I was in the climax of my life, moving out of university, and the same weekend I got the knowledge of the death of my father, which is a story for
Wow.
another.
Wow.
That,
Wow.
but great men like him, I was able to stand on their shoulders and see the world's view from that perspective. And God
Yeah.
was so kind that after the death of my father, my mom's older brother, Uncle Obona, who's actually gone back to glory now, um, stepped up and was like a father figure to me too. And then I had men of God that I when I found my walk with Christ, who I stood up. And the most recent one is my pastor, Pastor Paula de Ferrasin, standing on his shoulders alone and seeing the world over that view makes me know more, makes me see more, it makes
Yeah.
me do more. I have the
Mm.
capacity to see more and be more and do more just because
And
I'm
do
standing
more.
with us. And Obi, it is such a blessing to have those great men, and that's why I honor them, I treasure them, and I try as much as possible not to tamper with those relationships because they're very crucial to the foundation of who this man has become. Do I have my flaws? Absolutely. Even they too have their own flaws, but
Yes.
that alone shows us the way forward. We've got 2 more minutes to go. I'll come back and OBU will have the last word this time.
Okay.
Welcome back, Obi. Fatherhood is
Yeah.
not manhood, and manhood is not fatherhood. I tell folks everywhere I go, spend time with those that you love, because one of these days you are going to come back and say either I wish I did or I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, make sure you spend time with those that you truly, truly love. Because one of these days, like I said, you will come back and say, I wish I did, for those who didn't,
Yes.
or I'll say, I
Yes.
am glad I did, for those who did. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Obi. Our time is up.
You know, you know, you remind me of my father too. I think I fell into that category of people who had that regret of how I wish I had such opportunity with him. One of the good things was that he led me to Christ, and we started being cool. But I really felt or feel I didn't, give back to him. At some point, I had wanted us to have a life together. I mean, life, real communion, like real pals. Go on a boat cruise, have some fun together. Feel them. Because when I became a man, I began to realize how of a father my father has been. You get the word I use.
Right, right,
How
right, right.
of a father my father has been.
Hmm,
Denying himself in order to carry out his responsibility, to make sure that his presence is felt in the life of these young ones. And we were
hmm,
ignorant of it.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
And that's the difference from a
hmm,
father
hmm,
and that of manhood. A few days ago, I was on my bed and I had that urge to pray. What I could think was my wife and my baby. How can I hold them together again? I wasn't seeing myself. I was thinking of the two of them, bringing them, under my tree to hold them hands again. I have a responsibility in my wife. I have a responsibility in my baby. So
hmm,
you can imagine a man who has more than one or two. You're
hmm,
thinking your life is in all these ones, and you've lost yourself. Now, while
hmm,
the other man is thinking straight about himself, he might have challenges with work, with rent, and all that. But that of a father goes beyond that.
hmm.
So
Wow.
there's a whole lot to talk about this, but I think
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
it makes me go emotional.
Especially for you now, your family is not there anymore. Your family has traveled out of the country, so
Yeah,
you're by yourself for the rest of quite a
it makes
while.
me go emotional.
It's temporary because I
Yes.
believe very soon that all of you guys will be together again very soon.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
In some part of the world. Yeah, everything God,
Yeah.
what God has put together. Let no immigration Nigeria point me.
At all.
Let
Put
that
us on.
let us put us put us under. As long as God put it together. But that one that God did not
Yes.
put together, may it scatter.
At
You know,
all.
so that all man can be at peace, please. But in your own case,
Yes.
God has put it together.
Yes.
So, so just
Yes.
hang, enjoy yourself. Hey, buddy, it's always a pleasure and a joy catching up with you.
I
Uh, we have
enjoy it.
we have exceeded by a few minutes, but that's fine. Our audience will allow us to breathe, knowing fully well that we're having a great time. All right, bro. You have anything to say to our audience before I hang up?
I'll just simply say it comes by stages. So thank God you're hearing this now for someone who has not jumped into fatherhood, but you intend to go there. When you get in there, please try your best to be a father.
Man, thank you so much, bro. These two on my shoulder, those are my jewels, and
I could
uh,
see that.
yeah, those are my ride and die guys. My daughters, that's it for me. That's it for me. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Thank God.
It's emotional here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love my kids, and I thank God for their life. Thank God for the life of their mother, and
Yeah.
thank God for my own mother who had poured in so much into me. Thank God for my siblings and all the great ones. And I pray that everyone out there who is married, that your marriage will go well and strong. For those who are not married, expecting that they get married, that they married the right person, be it a man or a woman looking for a spouse, that they get to find their companion, their soulmate, and someone who they can still do life together with, because you can't do life with everyone. Obi, on behalf of Broken Not Shattered, we say
Thank you.
take care. For you, again, our audience, love, peace, and grace. See you soon next week, same time.